All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our webinar tonight. My name is Charles Moser. I am a DEO MAP implementer, and I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. This is being broadcast as part of DEO and DSO Secrets, and also part of the DEO magazine. I hope everybody is doing great tonight and feeling excited to hear from Stephanie Skidmore. Stephanie is going to talk to us about the 13 billing processes that make or break your dental practice, except I don't think she's going to talk about all 13 because we would have to be here for a while if she were to do that. And she's got to keep a little something back, right, Stephanie, so that people will give you a call and you can tell them about the rest of them. So let me tell you a little bit about, let me tell you a little bit about Stephanie, and then I'm going to throw it over to her. Before I do that, anybody out there that's on this webinar, please make sure that you throw your questions into the chat box. We will be collecting those, and we'll have Stephanie go ahead and take all those questions and comments at the end once she gets through her program, which should probably run between 30 and 40 minutes or so. And if you haven't noticed, I am rocking my Houston Astros shirt. We are we are representing and hoping that we go through the Philadelphia Phillies as easily as we went through the New York Yankees and whoever else we just walked all over. So Stephanie Skidmore, well, she's a business development specialist at eAssist Dental Solutions. She began her career as a dental assistant 18 years ago, and then just ultimately fell in love with the practice management side. Joining eAssist in 2017, it was easy for her to take that knowledge from dental assisting and practice management straight over to revenue cycle, where she creates solutions and helps practices thrive in that revenue cycle arena. So Stephanie, I'm just going to throw it over to you. We're really excited to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Dr. Moser. I'm super excited to be here today. Welcome to the 13 dental billing processes that make or break your practice growth. Let's just go ahead and dive into this. My goal during our time together today is to give you tools to increase your revenue cycle with the ultimate pre-appointment readiness plan, strategies to help maximize your practice collections, and achieving your practice revenue goals. Again, just like Dr. Moser said, go ahead and submit any questions that you have in the chat box, and then he and I will certainly address those at the end of this program. So what is a pre-appointment readiness plan? This is really simple, honestly. It's just a process set in place where every team member in the process knows what to do if and when they answer a phone call. So the front office and your back office need to know that pre-appointment readiness plan forwards and backwards. First and foremost, we don't want any missed calls. So we need everybody on this, answering the calls if they're available. So once we review this with your team, they're going to know how to exactly schedule an appointment. So what we need to gather whenever we'll end this plan, what we need to gather from the patient that we'll, obviously review with the front office and the back office, we need to gather the patient phone number, the patient name. We need to determine what type of appointment is needed. And then by determining what type of appointment is needed, we're going to go ahead and know the length of time we need for that appointment. So is it a toothache? Is it a new patient? Whatever that situation is, we're going to know how to schedule that. So then at that point, we'll know which provider to schedule this patient with. And then we need to take it one step further. We really need to find out, is this patient a cash patient, or are we going to be filing the insurance as a courtesy for them? If we decide that we are filing insurance for them, we need to go ahead and take it one step further and go ahead and gather some additional information. And that information is going to pertain to the insurance. So we want to make sure we have the subscriber information, meaning the subscriber date of birth, subscriber ID number. We need to have maybe the social security number if they can give it to us. And then obviously we need to have the carrier name. So what insurance company are we filing for? And then we'll need their group number or group name. Sometimes it's called like a policy number, depending on the insurance. So once we have all of this information gathered, we definitely need to go ahead and verify that insurance. So we have found that 80% of work that it takes to collect what is produced, it must be done on the front end. So having that pre-appointment readiness plan that everyone in the practice knows how to execute can certainly decrease the amount of corrections that need to take place on the back end of the claims revenue cycle, which ultimately it delays payment, right, to the practice. So when you're correcting things on the back end, you're actually losing money at this point. Your claim is denied. So that means your money is delayed. And then your in-office team, which honestly, generally, we're all paid hourly as an administrative team member. So that hourly rate starts to add up because now we're having to contact the insurance company, correct any information that was, incorrect. And then all while it could have all just been completed on the front end and executed out correctly, especially the insurance information. In my opinion, insurance verifications are key to practice success. If you don't have that information, you're just going in blind. So if you're going in blind, what starts to happen? Compounding chaos. It starts to happen for sure. If you don't have those updated insurance verifications on file, it's a problem. Why is it a problem? Well, because now you're having to have difficult or incorrect financial discussions with your patient. I don't like to have financial discussions with the patient as it sits. I don't want to have these incorrect discussions with them here and there, and then I'll have to, figure out what happened and why they have these balances. So telling a patient that they owe less than what is covered, it can be just this huge snowball effect that goes on in their practice. Not only is it, important to do this for your patient, but when things like that go haywire, it starts to bleed into your team. So you have higher team stresses, you have frustrated providers because they're probably paid off of collection and you're not getting it collected. But not every patient is going to need a verification completed. So how do we know if a verification is needed versus an eligibility check? My click's not working. So a verification, well, what is a verification? That's a complete breakdown of benefits. So what is this going to tell us? This is going to tell us the percentages, yearly maximum, deductibles, any specific coding. Maybe you're a general practice, but you like to place implants. Let's gather that information in case your patient needs an implant. Is there any history on file? So that way we can make sure we know if we can schedule for a bite wing and prophy. Or my biggest pet peeve is making sure that we gather missing tooth clauses and replacement clauses. This can create a lot of headaches. So that's what a complete verification document consists of. What is the eligibility check? Where this is basically where you are having, you're just having somebody quickly check if the patient is eligible, and if so, how much of their maximum or deductible is being used. So when do we verify? For new patients, always verify your new patients. Not on the back end, let's make sure that we're verifying it on the front end. If your new patient is coming in for an appointment, we do not need them waiting in your waiting room for an hour while we're gathering this data. This all needs to be situated on the front end. Number two, if an existing patient with no change in their insurance, but they have been seen in 6 months, so let's just say a patient comes in January, then they're seen 6 months later in July, well, let's go ahead and just do a quick eligibility check as long as the patient states that there's no change in their insurance. So all we need to do is just check on their benefits, make sure that everything's updated and that they are truly eligible. Number three, last, if it's an existing patient with no change in their insurance, but they have not been seen in 6 months, I would recommend going ahead and getting a full breakdown of benefits. That's the full verification. Especially if, let's say they were seen in October and then the new year rolls over and we're seeing them next year. Let's go ahead and get that full breakdown. And that's only because usually plans update on a calendar year, sometimes not, but for the most part they do. So we just want to make sure that we have that correct information in place. So honestly, this year we have seen an increase in hold times when calling insurance companies. On average, it's 1 to 2 hours spent on the time trying to gather this information. 1 to 2 hours of your administrative team's time taken away from what we could be doing with patient care, right? Filling your schedule more productively, things like that. So if you're ever interested in outsourcing, that might be a solution for you there. Strategies to maximize your dental practice collection. Number one, pretty simple. Best practice is to bill what you did, but by the provider that did the service. So we need to make sure we're matching the appropriate CDT codes to the service provided by that provider. This will help ensure that your claims are processing fast. So what that means is if Dr. A did the procedure, we need to make sure that that claim is going out underneath the doctor that did the procedure and that it's coded correctly. So that brings us to CDT coding, filling out the correct code for services completed. We all know CDT codes are updated yearly, but what we may not know is that it's completed by a code maintenance committee. This committee actually meets every March, which is a great month. That's my birthday. But usually they have their updated codes official by May. So billing what you do, that can help create new codes that are necessary to practice dentistry. For example, cone beam. Cone beam used to have one code, and now we have multiple coding options. So it gives us kind of a wide range of variety on how we could possibly code things out. So staying on top of yearly changes is super important, and some great options to ensure that you're always kept up to date with all of the new updated and deleted codes would be looking into resources like ADA materials, Dr. Charles Blair coding manuals, including Practice Booster Online, one of my favorites, and then Insurance Solutions newsletters. Clicker again. So pro tip, investing in current ADA materials, Dr. Charles Blair coding material, Practice Booster Online, and Insurance Solutions newsletter can set your practice up for success. There were 46 changes in the CDT in 2022, 61 changes last year, and 38 are currently planned for the upcoming year. That's not including new definitions and vaccination coding that's coming out. So if you missed 3 years of updating resources, that's a lot. That's 160 changes that you're unaware of. So we just need to make sure that we're staying on top of this. Number 2, this is one of my favorites, sending clean claims out with necessary supporting documentation. No one likes a dirty claim, so let's get this sent out clean the first time. Yep. All right, so this is a list of some of the things that you could kind of check off just to make sure your claims are going out as clean as possible. Remember, you'll probably get a copy of these slides. So not probably, you will. You'll get a copy of these slides. So if you have, if you're trying to jot all of this information down, don't worry about it. You're going to get a copy. So if you plan on being in network, let's just plan on getting some of the credentialing situated as soon as possible. Not only maybe for you, but if you're bringing on associates, things like that, credentialing can on average take 120 days to fully complete. So it's very important that we get this situated so your claims are going out properly. You're not having to do unnecessary adjustments, things like that. So let's get that started as quickly as possible. One of the easiest things, make sure you're sending the most up-to-date ADA format, claim format. It's 2019, so if you're getting rejections in your clearinghouse and it's saying something about not having the most up-to-date claim format, simple fix, we just need to update that to a 2019. Number 3, let's go ahead and bill your office UCR fees. So what is your UCR fee? That's not your contracted rate. That's the fees that your office goes by, maybe if you have a cash patient, things like that. So when insurance companies do their review and see a large amount of codes being billed at a higher rate rather than the lower rate or the contracted rate, this kind of helps them determine that, hey, maybe I need to go ahead and raise my fees. All of these folks are billing $300 over our contracted rate. It's probably time to reassess that. So bill the UCR rate, and then your contracted rate. You can either do write-offs or in some softwares, especially Dentrix for sure. It's really cool. There's just a system that you can click on, and it will allow it to where it sends out your UCR fees to the insurance company. So that's what's listed on your claim form. But then on your ledgers, it's going to reflect your in-network rate or your contractual rates that the insurance company gave you. So pretty cool there. Number 4, again, submit claims under the correct rendering provider. We need to make sure those claims are going out clean under the correct provider, again, the first time. And then last but not least, number 5, let's review your claims for accuracy prior to sending those out. So what does that mean? That means making sure that if you have procedures that are listed on that claim that require attachments, let's go ahead and make sure that the correct x-ray, intraoral photo, whatever that looks like, narratives, it's all included on this claim the first time, because as soon as it hits that AR report, it is costing you money. So we need to make sure we submit that out clean. Whenever you're writing your narratives, let's go ahead and simplify this. We want to be simple and matter of fact. There's only a few spots. I don't remember. I think it's 150 characters maybe in the remarks section for the narrative. So if you're writing a novel, it's going to either get cut off or the processes are not going to, they're not going to read it. So we just need to make sure we keep it, clean and simple. So another pro tip for you, let's send these claims out daily. This will help with faster reimbursement. No one likes getting a bill 6 months later. So the cleaner the submission on the first end, the faster the reimbursement to your practice, which means that allows faster forward balance of additional money owed from your patient. So let's, number 3, we'll dive into this. Posting insurance payments timely to ensure your end-of-day practice management system matches what you're taking to the bank. Let's have a system in place for proper checks and balances. Your accountant will love you for this. Reconciliation pro tip. This is kind of one of my favorites, but best practice here is to post the insurance payment within 24 hours of receipt. This is super helpful for all types of payments, but especially if you have any EFT payments. So posting within 24 hours of receipt will help you balance with the practice management software and the bank account. An EFT payment is directly deposited into the doctor's account or the office account. So if you're not posting those in a timely manner, it becomes very crossed on how to balance that out and figure out what was paid and what wasn't paid. So super important to try to get that streamlined and situated and posted within 24 hours of it becoming available online. Moving on to number 4, what happens when a claim does not get paid? Running your accounts receivable reports consistently and having a strategy for regular follow-ups is essential for keeping your cash flow consistent. All right, Dr. Moser, we have poll time. So you can add your answers in the chat, or if you're on Facebook, you can chat, drop it in there and we will get that situated. But let's take a poll and see how often do you follow up on your outstanding insurance claims in your practice. Your answers can be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or whenever we get to it. So now while we wait for everyone to get your answers in, feel free to be honest. I am not going to judge you and I cannot see who answered what. But something to note is that if you are not running that insurance AR out of your practice management system, there is a report in most systems. You should certainly be doing that. Let's take a look at that reporting. It's going to show you all of the open claims that you have listed in your current over 30, 60, and 90. So if you don't know that, if you're not pulling it, let's go ahead and start pulling that. And then if you need help, I can give you steps to take to get that pulled in your specific software. All right, awesome. Thanks for those results. Appreciate it. Number 5, not only do we want to pull the insurance aging report, but we want to review it, handle denied claims, and appeal as necessary. So it's important to know that most insurance companies have a 12-month filing limit. What does that mean? So if they do not receive your claim within 12 months of you doing that procedure, they're not going to pay it. They're just not. So you need to make sure that you have a system in place that shows that, hey, I tried to send this, or that you're catching those on the front end, because 12 months, that's a long time. That's a lot of time in between when you did that procedure. We need to be finding that out and figuring out, what's needed to get that claim to the insurance company so it can process and get you paid. All right, so fun fact here, straight from Dr. Blair. Only 33% of denied claims are appealed by a dental practice. That's leaving possibly 9% on the table. I don't know how you feel about it, but 9% of an office's production not being paid, that's a lot of money. Money that could go to team bonuses, 401k, I don't know, new equipment. Now, typically we see that these denied claims are not being appealed due to the lack of time on the administrative end. They're obviously wearing many hats in your practice, but this needs to be done. So true story here, I've personally sat on hold with an insurance company for over an hour, only to have a patient walk up right as the representative answers the phone. Hello, this is Susie from MetLife. And then the patient walks up and I need to do a checkout. So I have to ultimately hang the phone up to take care of my patient that's directly in front of me, all while losing that hour of time spent on the phone trying to gather this information and process whatever's needing to be processed. I'm getting paid, but the doctor's not getting paid for that. So it's just money, it's just time wasted, honestly, on these insurance companies. So I don't know about you, but dollar signs come to mind for sure. Wasted time spent on hold with these insurance companies. So again, if you're seeing that happen in your practice, this might be another place where outsourced dental billing experts can benefit your practice. So let's talk about the difference in rejected claims. Rejected claims, disallowed claims, and denied claims. So first we have rejected claims. So this can happen for a few different reasons. If your CDT code is incorrect, let's say that you're seeing a child for a prophy and you add in an adult prophy CDT code, that is going to get rejected. If you have incorrect information on that claim form regarding the patient, maybe the patient profile was built out incorrectly, it's going to get kicked back as a rejected claim. So what happens here is we have to resubmit this. So whenever we resubmit this information, it's very likely that that claim is now going to get denied as a duplicate claim. So again, you can kind of see here how that domino effect of having these processes in place or not can start to cause some problems in the practice. An unpaid claim is just a disallowed claim. So this is when the patient's plan is claiming that it does not qualify for payment. Now, if you complete insurance breakdowns on the front end, you can easily glance to see if these denials are correct. Is it a covered benefit? Is it not? Is this something we need to appeal? Things like that. Denied claims, this is another form of an unpaid claim. This could be appealable. Again, this is another area where outsourced billing experts can certainly help figure out if we need to, appeal this information or if it's a correct denial. Again. All right, once your claims are paid and you have established your patient account balances are correct, it's time to send statements and make phone calls to your patients for any owed balances. Another poll here. How often are you sending your patient statements? Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, about twice a year, or I have no idea. Yeah, and feel free to pop your answers in the Q&A box. We will get those polls totaled up. I have seen it where offices have never ran a patient statement, and that's just money that's just kind of hanging out. Doctor's not getting paid for that. So our recommendation for overdue accounts is to send your statements at least once per month. Electronic is preferable. I would recommend that you run your aged receivables every 30 days. So this is going to be your aged patient account receivables. And then let's schedule some time, either you or somebody in your practice, to work that aging report. And let's make it to where it's uninterrupted. It takes a lot of time to kind of filter through these ledgers and figure out where this balance is coming from. And we certainly want to make sure we're billing your patients for accurate balances. And you might want to set a process in place too, either a spreadsheet or some sort of system where if I sent an electronic statement last month, this time I'm going to go ahead and make a phone call to try to collect that balance. Key to success here is consistent and prompt follow-up. It's really hard to collect balances when your patient's not receiving it for 6 months. You know, if they think they're paying this estimated portion, you have all of these errors, money hasn't been paid for 6 months, and then now you start to send them a statement, you know, it's kind of weird. They're going to be like, I don't know why you're sending me this statement 6 months later. So also a little bit of advice. One, make sure you know where the balance is coming from. We need to be able to explain this to the patient, but whenever they're ready to pay their balance, let's not say, hey, would you like to go ahead and pay your balance today, please? This gives them the option to say no. When I ask my teenager, hey, can you do the laundry? Or hey, do you mind folding those clothes over there? She's just going to say no if I ask her. Instead, let's just kind of say, hey, let's go ahead and get this taken care of today while I have you on the phone. For sure, have a system where you can send them a text to pay link. Let's go ahead and take care of this while I have you on the phone. I'm going to send you a text to pay link to your cell phone right now. Kind of gets that process going. So this is fun. Do you know your current collection ratio? If not, I'm going to teach you. So you can take your total outstanding receivables, including patient and insurance. So that's outstanding money owed to you. Divide that by the average monthly production. This will give you your AR ratio. The AR ratio should fall within this range shown on the slide I have up here. So for example, we want less than 8% of your total accounts outstanding receivable in the over 90. If you're producing 100,000 a month and you're over 90 total accounts outstanding receivable, remember patient and insurance receivable combined, it should be $8,000 or less. I suggest you run these numbers, check on the health of your practice. If it's not within these benchmarks, then let's take a look at this and see what we need to do to get you within these benchmarks. All right. So just kind of reviewed, I think that's approximately 6 processes there. This is absolutely one of my favorite demonstrations of the billing processes. There's all kinds of different things and cracks that can go on here. So I'm just going to very briefly run through this. I could spend hours on it, but I just want to kind of give you an overall view here of how this can affect your practice. So it's much easier for your team to confidently explain to a patient that their treatment is needed based off of a correct insurance breakdown. So number one, we have our pre-appointment readiness plan, right? So we're going to schedule our patient confidently, no problem there. Patient comes in, we have the insurance verification completed or not if we didn't gather that information, right? So then the patient comes in and they're seen for diagnosis. Doctor diagnoses the treatment. If I am going in blind and I have no idea what the insurance company is going to pay or not pay, it's a very weird financial conversation to have with your patient. But if I know for a fact that I verified this insurance company told me this, I can go to the patient and say, hey, doctor diagnosed this. This is what I'm estimating your insurance to pay. This is your patient portion at that time of service. We'll file it to the insurance company. If there's a remaining balance after that, we'll go ahead and send you a statement. So you're kind of setting them up like this is what's going on. Now, once your claims are sent, obviously we want to make sure those go out clean. Again, we mentioned that earlier. If they don't go out clean, then you have your denials. Anyways, once your claim comes back and it's paid, then we post the payment. And let's just say we didn't get your insurance verification completed. So now your patient has an unexpected balance that they have to pay. We're going to send them a statement. They're like, hey, you didn't tell me I had a missing tooth clause. This isn't covered. Now I owe $800. You know, so you're kind of risking losing that trust with your patient. Or ultimately, if you decide to take the hit and do the write-off, then your practice is losing money. So, you know, true statement here, again, I'll repeat this, but the longer the length of time it takes for a patient to receive a statement on the back end of the dental appointment, the less likely you are to receive payment. So don't let those dental billing processes go uncompleted. Let's have a system in place for verifications, collecting patient payments at the time of service, filing claims, following up on unpaid and denied claims. We don't want to leave money on the table, so let's invoice your patients in a timely manner. Let's keep your schedule full with new and existing patients. And then also use your practice management system. Let's track some reports. Let's dive deep into that, figure out what's going on in there. So just a little bit about how eAssist could help your practice. Our goal ultimately is to give you peace of mind by streamlining revenue cycle and keeping your cash flow consistent. These are some areas that we can help. So dental billing is our core service. This is essentially streamlining the insurance revenue cycle. So basically it's from when doctor does procedure, we take that over totally from A to Z until that claim is paid and closed. All the follow-up is on us. We can also help with credentialing situations in our credentialing department. So this can be if you decide you're bringing on a new associate, we can certainly help getting that associate credentialed with the plans that you take. Or also down the line, you might have to re-credential with insurances, which come up from time to time. We can certainly help with that as well. Obviously, insurance verification. So this is verifying the insurance on the front end before the patient's appointment. Dental accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll. So this is going to be all kinds of different things depending on your service, depending on what you're looking for in your practice. But honestly, most commonly, what I see used here in the service is going to be EFT reconciliation. So that's when you're pulling those EOBs off of the online portal, making sure that it reconciles in your practice management software. So it's pretty huge. We also have patient portion. So this is the back end of the revenue cycle. Just a quick food for thought. I didn't mention this earlier, but across the United States, the average insurance collection ratio is 91%. Within our company, our collection ratio is about 98.6%. And that actually goes to almost 100% whenever we're adding in dental billing and patient billing. That means the entire back-end revenue cycle is outsourced to eAssist. All right. Last but not least, we have full schedule. So this is not a computer, it's not an answering service. It is a specific scheduler placed for your specific office that is ultimately contacting your patients to fill your schedule more productively. Pretty cool. So if you're looking for a more reliable cash flow, we can absolutely help by ensuring there is never a pause or delay in your revenue cycle, all while freeing up your administrative team's time so they can focus on what is the most important, which is your patients. Our eAssist team is made up of dental billing experts, and we are currently serving over 2,400 dental offices and DSOs across the United States. Thank you again for spending this time with me today. Our eAssist teams love delivering peace of mind for dental practice owners and teams every day. Just want to review a few acknowledgements we have here at the company. So eAssist has earned a prestigious spot on the Inc. 500 list. Just recognized for the 7th time this year on the Inc. 5000 list. Endorsed by the California Dental Association. Recognized Entrepreneur 360. In this past April, Financial Times ranked us as the 8th fastest growing company in America in the financial sector and 242nd overall. Also recognized as Fortune 100 best companies to work for. Can I get a wow? All right, so feel free to drop your contact information in the chat box. I'm happy to contact you and set up a demo, kind of review your overall health of your practice, and then figure out how we might be able to help you. All right, let's open it up for Q&A.
All right, Stephanie, great job. You are not going to get out of this webinar without being grilled by Dr. Moser, though. That maybe Hilda didn't tell you that ahead of time, but
she did not, but I have heard.
I like to ask some hard questions here.
Oh,
so
I'm shaking in my boots.
Yeah, okay. So first one is kind of a softball here. And again, please put your questions in the chat box if you have any, and I will get to them. But if I don't see any there, I'm going to hit her with mine. So the first one is it can take 4 to 5 months, sometimes even 6 months, to get doctors credentialed on all of the insurance plans. So two-part question. One is, how do we handle that as business owners? How do we build these associates? How do we put them to work and build these associates so that we can get paid, I guess I'll say, in the closest legal way possible? And then the two-part question of that is eAssist going to get my associates credentialed faster than I can?
So for the first part of the question, there's all kinds of different theories out there on how to do this or how not to do this. I have worked in many practices previously, and my personal opinion is that you're just going to have to bill them out of network UCR. And then if you decide to do any write-offs or things like that, then that's ultimately your decision. The problem with this is that your insurance companies have only a certain maximum, right? It's not that much for every patient. And so they generally are going to pay more when you're out of network, right? So they're eating up more of their benefit maximum. So that's
Right.
where you can kind of, there's plus and minuses with whichever route you go. Now, I have seen it also where practices, so you really need to bill for the provider that's doing the service, and that's fine. Some of the offices are okay with if, Dr. Moser is the owner of practice and Dr. A is doing procedures, while they're in the credentialing process, going ahead and billing it underneath you. Now, I cannot tell you that that is the way to do it. That is just what I have seen done.
Yeah, that's not legal, but it is out there being done. And for the most part, it's relatively accepted, but it isn't kosher completely.
It is a gray area. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah. Okay, and let's see. So we got a question. It says, you mentioned we need to bill out our UCR fees on the claim. Are we putting our UCR fee on the ledger as well?
So depends on your software. If you're using Dentrix, you can actually bill out your UCR, and then there's a setting in there you can turn on, and then it will attach your regular fees to the ledger. So depending on what system you have in place, there might be some options to do it that way, so it doesn't make it to where you're having to do a lot of write-offs on the back end. Now, if you're doing it the other way and you are billing out your UCR, and that fee is going on your ledger, you're just going to have to know in your head that you're going to have those adjustments, because you are going to have to adjust that according to your contractual agreement.
Going back to the associates that aren't credentialed and you're billing out at UCR, I wonder if, let's say that it was a 25% difference, right? UCR versus your contractual obligation. I'm wondering if you could go back to the patient and say, look, we're going to bill it this way because it's the legal way to do it, but then we're going to give you 25% of your annual maximum back to you. So if your maximum is $1,500, we're going to give you a credit for $300 towards more dentistry, because you've been they've made us overcharge you. And so we've eaten up so you could give them a $300 credit, so they end up getting $1,800 worth of insurance instead of $1,500. That's pretty creative, eh?
That is creative. I love it.
Yeah.
That's definitely an option.
Okay, next question. So you talk about clean claims, which is definitely important, right?
Yeah.
I think there's also, on the flip side to this, there are providers out there that provide more information than the insurance company really desires to pay the claim, which actually holds up the claim. So in other words, narratives aren't necessary for everything that we do, but if you attach a narrative to a claim, it's my understanding that it automatically goes to a claims reviewer because it has an attachment with it. So
yeah, that's probably true. So that's where, in my opinion, placing knowledgeable billers that are doing those procedures that know exactly what's needed to go into that claim. If you're doing a filling on tooth number 3, like, we don't need any of that, and so they're going to know what procedures require what based off of our guidelines.
So very important to either hire a knowledgeable person, use a really good vendor, or just whoever's doing it in your office now, get them knowledgeable, because you might be getting claims held up for no reason, simply because you're trying to be thorough and it's really getting stuck.
It's hurting you. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
next question, which is actually rhetorical, I don't think you can answer it. How in the world do these insurance companies get away with keeping offices on hold for an hour? I mean, it's just, it's abuse, frankly.
I agree.
You know, I don't know how we fix that, but I just needed to get that off my chest. Okay, next one. Could you re-explain the benchmark that you talked about as far as how do we figure out what a good AR percentage is to have? You said it was below 8%, but can you give me that formula again? How to run that number again? I think a lot of people would really like to be able to do that tomorrow. You're not going to like the number, folks, but you definitely need to know it. You can't improve it if you don't know it, right?
And honestly, I talk to offices every day, and 90% of the offices do not know that number. And it's really important, like that's your money.
Yeah, so if you're still on this call, I would beg of you, please go out and figure this number tomorrow, because as soon as you look at it, you will start improving it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and pull those AR, like that aging report is huge. You can clearly see your open claims. So can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So it's right here. So what you're going to do is take your total outstanding receivables, so that's both insurance and patient, and you're going to divide that by the average monthly production. That's going to give you your AR ratio. Then you could take a look at this slide and figure out, hey, am I doing good or am I really not hitting the mark here?
Yeah. Okay, great. I think that's really important that everybody goes out and does that tomorrow if they don't do that on a regular basis. Absolutely. All right, let's talk eAssist a little bit. So if somebody on this call is looking to outsource their RCM, what questions should they ask every vendor that they call out there? What questions should they ask so that they can compare apples to apples when they're talking to eAssist versus AAssist versus RAssist versus all the other ones out there?
Yes. So I feel like the most important question that I would ask if I were still managing a practice is, like, do I get a dedicated team? Am I going to have one person in and out of my practice, or am I going to have 100 different people? Am I going to have to talk to A, B, C, and D to figure out why this claim isn't processing, you know, or do I have direct contact to my team? So it's one of the reasons that eAssist is kind of set apart. We place specific teams that are proficient in your specific software. So it really becomes a great, like, open line of communication and just work environment. We are essentially your insurance coordinator, just working remotely. I talk to my doctors all the time. They're probably on this call, actually. So, you know, it's just having that open line of communication and making sure everybody's on the same page. It has to go both ways, though, too, right? Like, I need to make sure that doctors have the information I need to bill what I need to bill, just as I need to make sure I'm billing it correctly. So that's one of the key things I would say. Also, are you located in the US? Are you outsourcing out overseas? eAssist only outsources in the United States right now. And third question would be, like, how much experience do these billers have? Are you hiring them and training them, or are they coming to you fully trained? Our billers on average have 10 years experience in dental office, but I'll tell you, everybody I know probably has double and triple that. So there's so much knowledge going around in the company, and we're, you know, we have the open platform where everybody is just kind of bouncing information off. So if I don't know the information, maybe I've never seen this oral surgery claim before in my life, you know, somebody within my company knows, and we have that capability of getting that answer for you.
Yeah, so experience and knowledge are two different things, right? I mean, experience is just how long you've sat in the chair. The knowledge is a bit different than just the experience. Okay, next question. Does eAssist use any AI currently, or are they planning on using any AI on the horizon?
Yeah, so it's on the horizon for sure. Absolutely. Here and there, we have a little, but not what is to come, but definitely coming.
Okay. Second to last question. Does eAssist play around in medical billing as well? Because some of our listeners may be doing sleep dentistry as well. And they, you know, there is this idea that medical will pay for it. I know that is very difficult to do. It's not impossible, but if you're doing sleep medicine out there, and does eAssist take care of that for me?
So it depends. Yes, we can. We do have to have a oral maxillofacial surgery practice management software in place. And then at that point, we can help cross-code and file, follow up, all of that for medical claims. Otherwise, we would refer you to another company that would help with the medical side of it. And then once that's situated, we would have the dental side of it and then send that off with the primary medical EOB.
Okay.
So depending.
All right. And then last question, how does eAssist get paid from me? In other words, the reason I asked that question is if I'm trying to figure out if I want to outsource this or not, how do I validate, okay, I'm paying eAssist X dollars a month to do this, but it offsets what? How do I justify what I'm paying to eAssist?
Yeah, super easy. You're paying us and we're not getting paid unless you're getting paid, right? We're invoicing you off of the insurance collections at the end of the month. So whatever insurance money comes into your practice, that's what we're invoicing off of. So our team's not paid unless you're paid. So that's why it works so well. It's in our best interest to make sure your claims go out clean, promptly followed up on. So that way the money is coming directly into your practice as soon as possible so we can get paid. So it's percent off of the insurance collection.
Yep. Now, is that assuming that you're doing my entire billings, or can I just give you the ones that came back and say to you, I just want you to work the ones that came back denied?
Well, we would like to have the entire insurance revenue cycle, just as everything is kind of a snowball on the entire revenue cycle. If the insurance claims are not going out clean, they're getting put on that AR, and then we're having to spend all this time following up 1 to 2 hours every claim. And then we want to also make sure we're posting the payment. So that's kind of like the final end, because we do submit all of the appeals. Right, because we know if something comes in and it's denied incorrectly, we're going ahead and taking it one step forward and submitting those appeals for you. So,
because I'll do the easy ones myself, right? I don't want to give you the percentage of the slam dunks, but I understand. I get it.
Yeah, we generally take over everything. So honestly, it's really simple. There's really not any training. Once the procedure is done and batched, that's what indicates, hey, can you please bill the insurance company for this? And we literally take it from there all the way until it's paid and closed. So it's really a hands-off approach, but very transparent. Got it.
All right, well, that's all I have. Hey, people, if y'all are still in this call, would you throw a little love in the chat or in the Q&A or somewhere for Stephanie for all the information that she gave us? I learned a lot, and I always do on these webinars, even though, gosh, I've been around since we were doing pegboard billing, so that's a long time. Stephanie, I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I know I learned a lot. If y'all are interested, you saw Stephanie's contact information out there. And if you didn't see it out there, I got a feeling, Stephanie, what's the website if they want to just go to the website?
Yeah, so let me pull it up for you here.
I got a feeling it's pretty easy.
Yeah, dentalbilling.com.
Dentalbilling.com. Stephanie, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, as you will from me too. Thanks so much for being here with us and sharing your knowledge and your information. And gosh, I am looking forward to the Astros playing tomorrow night. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dr. Moser. Appreciate it.
See y'all.
Bye.